Okay, hello, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be covering something that's really simple but very contentious, and that is chain maintenance. So I'm going to be showing what products I use to clean the chain and how I keep the chain lubed. I know there are a lot of different ways and people swear by different things. I'm not saying that my way is better than anybody else's. All I can say is that all the chains on all my motorbikes are in very good condition. So it does work what I'm doing. So if it's any interest to you, stay tuned. But first, roll the credits. Okay, welcome back. First of all, I'd like to point out that I have absolutely no affiliation to any products that are put on my channel. I'm just a regular punter who goes out and buys things with his own money. I've got it down to two brands. I either use the Muck-Off brand or I use WD-40. I do sometimes use Motul as well. I find Motul is a good brand to use. One of the things that I will say with any product you use, people can get different results from the same product, and that is because how they actually use the product and how they apply it. If you apply these products wrong, if you don't put enough on, if you put too much on, if you don't wait long enough after cleaning the chain before you put the lube on, all those things are going to affect how the product works and the results you get from it. So I think that's why it's quite contentious. So, you know, you can get one person who swears by a product and another person who absolutely says it's totally rubbish. And I think that's where the differentiation can be. It's how you actually use and apply the product. And obviously there is an element of how good the product is as well. So what we will do, we will get down and dirty and start cleaning the chain on this bike. Okay, but just before we do get down and dirty and start cleaning the bike, I suppose I should run through what the products are and what the products are used for. So first of all, what I tend to do is, if I'm using a certain manufactured lube, I will stick with the chain cleaner. So I don't mix the chain cleaners. So for example, I wouldn't use all-weather lube from Muck-Off and clean with the WD chain cleaner. Now, to be honest, I don't know if there's any science behind that or whether the chain cleaners are all the same. I don't know. It's just something that I do. I tend not to mix brands when I'm cleaning the chain. Secondly, at different times of the year, I will use different types of lube. So obviously in winter time you want something that's quite thick, that's not going to fling off, that's going to be really waterproof. So those would be the type of lubes that I would go for in winter. In the summer periods where you're not going to be doing a lot of riding in the wet and the rain, then you can use a lighter lube. And I think that's important to bear in mind, that you do need to change the type of lube you use throughout the year. One of the products that I would like to talk about is chain wax over a chain lube. I'm not a big fan of using this chain wax if you're doing a lot of riding. What I tend to use the chain wax for is, I work away from home, and so the bikes aren't used for around about 3 months at a time, so they have to be stored for 3 months. So I will put this chain wax on because I find that it does a better job of adhering to the bike and just staying in situ and stopping moisture, all the things that you want when a bike's stationary and not moving. One of the problems I find with this product is that, one, it's very messy. You do get quite a bit of fling off where it does make a mess of the swing arm, and I also find that it's quite sticky. So when you're doing a lot of riding, especially in dry weather, you find that a lot of debris gets stuck to the chain, and it almost makes a paste, and I worry that that paste can become abrasive. I don't know, like I say, I'm not an expert, but in my opinion, I don't use this that often. I tend to use the chain wax only when I'm storing the bike. I always prefer to go for the lube type chain maintenance when I'm actually riding the bike a lot, whether it be dry or wet conditions. Okay, so what tools do we need? We need a pair of gloves, we need 2 brushes, one for applying the oil and one for using as the chain cleaner. Normally I like to use 2 different colours. I buy these in bulk off the internet, and normally they send red and blue a mixture, but they sent all blue this time. So just a good tip for you: put a piece of tape around one and then use that for applying the oil or the lube, and leave your other one for using the chain cleaner. Also, you can use the tape. You can put a little bit of tape on one of the links of the chain so you know exactly where to start and where you're finishing. To be honest, you don't really need to do that. You can see where you've started and where you finished, but if you're inexperienced in doing it, it is an easy way of making sure you don't miss any links out on the chain. Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I'm not a qualified mechanic, I'm not an engineer. All I'm doing is showing you something that works for me. Okay, another 2 items that are a must. A piece of cardboard, small piece of cardboard. I like using the wine carriers you get from supermarkets because they are the ideal size and shape pre-cut, and you can use these over and over. And then obviously a piece of cardboard just to put down on the floor so that when you're spraying down onto the chain, you're not getting lubricant or chain cleaner all over the floor of the garage or your yard. And the other thing to mention as well, you need a side stand, you need a centre stand for doing this, because when you've got a centre stand, it means that you can lift the back end of the bike up and you can spin the wheel and spin the chain around. If you only have the side stand, it makes things very difficult. You can do it just doing a section of chain, then pushing the bike forward a little bit, doing another section of chain, pushing the bike forward a little bit, but it is a pain in the neck doing it that way. So let's take a close look at the chain. Okay, so this is my chain. This was cleaned about 4 months ago. Now that is a really, really long time ago, but the reason it hasn't been cleaned since is because it's been stored while I've been working overseas. So I've ridden this bike about 3 or 4 times since I've been back. Really, I should have cleaned it and lubed it before I took it out, but I just didn't have the time. So as you can see now, it's in fairly good condition. It's fairly clean. However, we do have just a little bit of surface rust starting to appear on the chain. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a good clean, get it nice and shiny, and then I'll lube it up. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is just pop piece of cardboard behind so we're not getting any cleaner on the actual tyre, and we just put plenty on, and then we get a brush and we give it a good clean. And we get an old rag and we just give the chain a good clean. I like to get my thumb down inside the links because the rollers will roll around. Make sure that you're giving them a good clean all the way round. And we'll do this all the way around the chain until we're happy that it's nice and clean. Okay, so that is the chain cleaned. I think I went round its circumference about 3 times just to get the last little bits of surface rust that were on there from riding on the salty roads over the last couple of days. So what I need to do now is I need to let this dry. A lot of people now would just put the lube straight on, but the problem with that is there's still a lot of liquid lube in between the links and all the nooks and crannies of the chain. And when you put the lube on, that chain cleaner is designed to break the lube down, and that's when people say, oh, you get a lot of fling flying off the chain, and it's coating the swing arm and the mudguard and the back wheel. So what we need to do now is we need to let that chain lube dry, and then once that's dried and evaporated off, we will then start looking at how to apply the chain lube. Okay, so the chain's had time to dry off, so about 45 minutes. That just lets everything evaporate off so that we can now apply the lube. I'm applying the all-weather chain lube from Muck Off this time, and all that we have to do is just spray the lube all over the chain. And then what a lot of people do, they just let it soak. What I do, I take a clean brush and I just give it a good rub around all the nooks and crannies. Make sure that it all gets in there and both sides of the chain get a good coating. Because what happens is sometimes the back side of the chain, this side here, doesn't really get a very good coating. So by using the brush, it just helps to spread it around a little bit. But the thing I must stress is, one, don't get your brushes mixed up. Don't use the one you've used with your chain cleaner. Always use a dedicated one. That's why it's got the tape around. That's just to spread that oil around. Another thing to mention is there are lots of other ways of doing chain. A lot of people swear by using diesel. I've never tried that. A lot of people swear by using just light gear oil. Again, I've never tried that. I've just always used what I've used because it works for me. Another thing to mention as well is, you know, look what the manufacturer says about your chain, what type of O-rings it's got, what type of seals it's got, and make sure that you're using the correct type of lubricant, what's recommended for your chain. Basically, all you're doing with your lube is putting a coating that protects the outside of the links and the outside of the O-rings. Because the O-rings and the links are sealed with grease inside, so you're just protecting what's on the outside from all the grime and grit and salt and surface rust that you can get on your chain. And as you can see now, we're coming up to where we started. You know, people sometimes put a little bit of toilet paper or a little bit of tape on one of the links, but as long as you keep an eye out, you can see where you've started and where you need to finish. The thing about using the brush as well, it does help to distribute all the lube so that you won't get fling off. The most important thing now is to let this dry. If we were to go out on this bike now, you'll get a lot of fling off because it's still very fluid, and it'd coat the swing arm, the back wheel. It'd be a right mess. So what we need to do now is leave it for at least another hour to make sure that everything sets on there and it becomes nice and tacky, and we're not going to get it all flying off as the chain rotates at high speed. Okay, so there you have it. Really simple thing to do, cleaning your chain. Another really contentious subject on this matter is how often to clean the chain. Well, there's no straight answer to that really. It's how long's a piece of string. There are so many variables that are involved. So for example, what time of year are you riding? How many miles are you doing? What type of riding, on-road, off-road? There's so many different variables. All I can say is that if I'm touring in summer, you know, with the odd occasional rain shower, but mostly dry touring, I'd be happy to do 500 mile before cleaning my chain. However, in winter, when I'm riding on salty roads, I can clean my chain at least once a week easily. The rule of thumb I would go by is there are two rules. One, if your chain looks like it needs cleaning, then it most probably needs cleaning, so clean it, regardless of what the mileage is. And secondly, the biggest rule that I have with my chains is the minute I see surface rust on a chain, the chain gets a real good clean, it gets stripped right back down, get all that surface rust off, and put more lube on. As I said, there are many different things people use. A lot of people swear by diesel, a lot of people swear by gear oil. Scott oil is supposed to be very good. I've never had a Scott oil. I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard the older ones used to cause quite a bit of a mess. However, I've heard that the new ones that they've brought out are very good. My only thought about a Scott oiler is that you're not actually cleaning the chain, you're just constantly adding lube to it. So any debris, grit, salt that gets into that lube and sticks to that lube is going to be on there all the time. I don't know, those are my thoughts. I've never used one, so if you've used one, please let me know in the comments beneath. It'd be interesting to hear what you have to say about Scott oilers. Anyway, that brings this short video to an end. If you have enjoyed it, please give me the thumbs up. Definitely subscribe. I'm really pushing that everybody subscribes. The majority of people watching the channel aren't subscribers. Please subscribe. It helps me in a way that I can get more content up onto the channel, and obviously that's what you want. You want to be able to see a more diverse range of content. So all that's left to say is everybody stay safe out there, everybody ride safe. Bike Rider Reviews out.